Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're actually taking on a foundational piece of the puzzle for anyone working in logistics. I'm talking about the 1993 Indian Multimodal Transportation of Goods Act. If you're involved in shipping goods out of India, this is essentially your master rulebook. Now, instead of getting totally bogged down in thick, boring legalese, we're going to keep the words simple but go incredibly deep. We'll bring absolute clarity to these regulations and look at how this law actually dictates your day-to-day operations in the real world.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll define exactly what multimodal transport is. Second, we'll look at how to become an operator. Third, we'll tackle the paperwork. Fourth, we'll break down operator responsibilities and liabilities. And finally, we'll wrap up with some important rules and exceptions.
All right, let's jump right into part one. What is multimodal transport? Just covering the basics.
Okay, so multimodal transportation simply means carrying goods from India to a foreign country using at least two different modes of transport. The absolutely crucial thing to remember here is that if your cargo only takes a truck across a border, well, this act doesn't apply at all. But the very second it switches from a truck to a ship, or maybe from a train to an airplane to actually leave India, boom, these specific rules officially kick in.
Now you might be wondering, who is actually running this whole journey? Well, enter the multimodal transport operator. They are the legally registered principal, basically the big boss. This operator isn't just some middleman passing the buck to a trucking company or shipping line. No way. They are your single point of accountability, and they take full 100% responsibility for your shipment from the start of its journey all the way to the finish line.
Moving right along to part 2, how to become an operator and get registered. To get officially registered, you have to meet a few pretty strict prerequisites. You must be a proper business entity, like a company or a firm. You absolutely need a minimum annual turnover or capital of 50 lakh rupees. And you must have offices or agents in at least 2 other countries. See, the government wants to make absolutely sure you have the solid financial backing and the global network to actually handle international logistics before they just hand over a license.
But if you do meet those hefty prerequisites, the actual application process, it's surprisingly straightforward. You just need to submit your application to the competent authority along with a simple 10,000 rupee fee. Once you're approved, you get a registration certificate that is valid for 3 full years. Just remember to play by the rules, right? Because they can, and definitely will, cancel your license if you provide any false information.
Let's move to part 3, the multimodal transport document. Oh yes, the paperwork.
Without this single document, absolutely nothing moves. Think of it as the ultimate master record for your shipment. It cleanly splits everything you need to know into 2 neat little categories. On one side, you've got the goods info, the general nature, the exact gross weight, and the character of the cargo. On the other side, you have the journey info, the intended route, the transshipment places, and the final agreed delivery date. Basically, it's the what and the where all perfectly captured in one place.
But keep this in mind, the operator isn't psychic. The shipper, the person actually sending the goods, is legally bound to provide completely accurate details. If they lie about the weight or maybe hide the fact that the contents are super fragile, they are the ones footing the bill. They must legally compensate the operator for literally any disaster or loss caused by that bad information.
All right, part 4, operator responsibilities and liabilities, the big what if. Okay, let's talk about the nightmare scenario. What happens when your precious cargo gets lost, damaged, or severely delayed in transit? Who actually pays up? Well, before we even talk about financial payouts, we have to ask the single most common legal defense question in the entire shipping world. What if the delay or damage simply isn't the operator's fault? What if there was a freak storm or an accident that was entirely out of their control? The simple answer here is that the operator gets off the hook completely if they can definitively prove they did everything right. If they can show that absolutely zero fault or neglect on their part or their agent's part caused the issue, then they are not liable. The disaster has to be completely out of their hands for this defense to work, but if it is, they're clear.
But wait, what if the operator actually is at fault, but the specific stage of the journey where the damage happened is totally unknown? To prevent operators from going entirely bankrupt over a single bad shipment, the law caps their payout. It bases this cap on an international currency measure called Special Drawing Rights, or SDR for short. So the limit is 2 SDR per kilogram if a ship was involved anywhere in the journey. But it actually jumps up to 8.33 SDR per kilogram if no sea or inland waterway transport was used.
And what about delays? I mean, how long do you have to wait before just giving up? Well, the law gives us a hard, fast number right here. If your cargo is just severely delayed, once 90 consecutive days pass beyond the expressly agreed delivery date, the law says you can officially treat those goods as completely lost and go ahead and file a total loss claim.
Finally, Part 5. Important rules and exceptions. The special circumstances.
First up is the rule on dangerous goods, and let me tell you, it is strictly enforced. If you're shipping hazardous materials and you try to pull a fast one by not declaring them, the operator has the legal right to literally destroy or unload your cargo just to save the ship or the crew. And the kicker here, they will not owe you a single dime in compensation.
Next, we have what's called the operator's lien. This gives the operator incredible leverage to make sure they get paid. If you don't pay your agreed-upon freight charges, the operator can simply hold your physical goods and your paperwork hostage, totally legally, through a lien. They literally don't have to release a single thing until you settle your bill. Now, your contract might also include a general average clause. This is a very old but fascinating maritime concept. Basically, it means shared emergency costs. Picture this. A ship is caught in a massive storm, and the crew has to throw some heavy cargo overboard just to stop the ship from sinking. Under general average, everyone whose cargo actually survived that storm chips in financially to compensate the poor guy whose cargo was sacrificed for the common good. Kind of crazy, but it makes a lot of sense. And finally, if things do go wrong and you need to make a claim, the clock is ticking incredibly fast. Notice of obvious, visible damage must be given in writing right there at the delivery dock. Now, if the damage is hidden inside the boxes, you have exactly 6 consecutive days to submit your notice. But most importantly, you face a strict 9-month cutoff from the delivery date to actually file a real lawsuit against the operator. If you miss that 9-month mark, your claim is totally invalid.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Knowing just how strict these liability limits and these legal timelines are, is your current logistics setup truly protected under the law? Look, navigating international shipping is super complex, but understanding these fundamental, simple rules gives you the power to properly protect your business and your goods. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this empowers you on your very next shipment.